Greetings, seekers of truth and cosmic understanding. Today, we embark on a journey that may forever change how you perceive your existence, your connection to the divine, and the very fabric of your being. What if I told you that, encoded within, the spiral lattice of your DNA, the blueprint of your physical form, lies something so profound, so ancient, and so sacred that it has been whispered about in esoteric circles for millennia? The secret name of God, the ineffable signature of the divine, hidden within your very cells. This is not metaphorical poetry or spiritual hyperbole. The convergence of modern genetic science and ancient mystical wisdom has revealed patterns and signatures that defy conventional explanation. Today, we will explore how the building blocks of life themselves may carry encoded within them the most sacred of all names, a vibration, a pattern, a code that connects each of us directly to the source of all creation. Before we continue, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing for more explorations of the hidden architecture of existence. Your support allows us to continue peeling back the veils between worlds. And for those returning, thank you for joining me once again as we venture into territories where science and spirituality dissolve their artificial boundaries. Let us begin by understanding what we mean when we speak of the name of God. In numerous mystical traditions, from Kabbalah to Sufism, from ancient Egyptian mystery schools to Vedic teachings, the true name of the divine was considered the most powerful vibration in existence, a sound or pattern that, when properly understood, could unlock the fundamental creative power of the universe itself. This name was not meant to be spoken carelessly. It was protected, encoded, and hidden within layers of symbolism and metaphor. What makes our modern era extraordinary is that we now possess the tools to examine the microscopic architecture of life itself, and what we've found there has left even the most steadfast materialists in states of profound wonder. The DNA molecule, this elegant twisting ladder of genetic information, carries patterns that go far beyond mere biological instruction. It carries a language, a code that speaks to the very nature of existence itself. Consider for a moment the mathematical precision of your genetic code. The 4 nucleotide bases, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, arrange themselves in patterns that defy random chance. The human genome contains approximately 3 billion base pairs. Within this vast library of information are sequences that follow the same mathematical ratios found in sacred geometry, in the spirals of galaxies, in the harmonics of music that moves us to tears. Is this mere coincidence, or is it signature? An artist signing their masterpiece? As we dive deeper into this subject, I invite you to approach with both an open mind and healthy skepticism, not as opposing forces, but as complementary aspects of the true seeker's journey. Share in the comments below your initial reactions to this premise. Does it resonate with something you've intuitively felt, or does it challenge your existing paradigm? Your perspective enriches our collective exploration. Now let us examine 5 profound connections between DNA and divine encoding that suggest the presence of God's name within our genetic makeup. When scientists first began to decode the human genome, they were stunned by what they found, or rather by what they didn't find. Only about 2% of our DNA actually codes for proteins, the building blocks of our physical body. The remaining 98% was initially dismissed as junk DNA, leftovers, from our evolutionary past with no apparent function. But as our understanding has deepened, we've discovered this so-called junk DNA is anything but garbage. It's more like a vast library containing information we're only beginning to comprehend. Within these non-coding regions lies what scientists now call regulatory elements, sequences that determine when, where, and how much of a protein gets made. They are, in essence, the conductors of the genetic orchestra, determining which instruments play and when they fall silent. This layer of genetic information doesn't just build your body, it orchestrates the symphony of your development from a single cell to the complex being now contemplating these words. The parallel to ancient mystical teachings is striking. In Kabbalistic tradition, the creative power of God is not just in the manifest world, but in the spaces between, in the unspoken breath between the letters of the divine name. The white space in sacred texts was considered as important as the words themselves. Similarly, in Taoist philosophy, the empty space of a vessel determines its usefulness. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want, as Lao Tzu observed. What's remarkable is that these non-coding regions of DNA follow linguistic patterns. They contain sequences that obey grammar-like rules, repeats, inversions, and palindromes that resemble the structure of language rather than random genetic debris. Linguists analyzing these patterns have found similarities to the information density and structural rules found in human languages. It's as though these sequences are not just storing information, but communicating it, a dialogue between the blueprint and the being. If we consider the ancient premise that in the beginning was the Word, and that through divine language, all of creation came into being, is it so far-fetched to consider that this primordial creative language might be encoded within the very blueprint of life? That perhaps what we're discovering in the non-coding regions of our DNA is not evolutionary leftover, but a message, the signature of a cosmic author. The implications are breathtaking. Each of us carries within ourselves what may be the original, creative syntax of existence, an unpronounceable name written not in human alphabets, but in the more fundamental alphabet of life itself. And if you're finding value in these revelations, take a moment to hit the like button and share this video with someone whose mind is ready to expand beyond conventional boundaries of thought. But there's more to this linguistic mystery. Consider how in ancient Hebrew tradition, each letter not only represents a sound, but carries multiple layers of meaning, numerical values, cosmic principles, and elements of creation. The DNA bases similarly function on multiple levels simultaneously. They form the physical structure of the double helix. They carry information for protein synthesis. They regulate gene expression, and they respond to environmental signals. Like the letters of sacred alphabets, they operate as both physical entities and carriers of meaning. Ancient mystics spoke of the divine name as being too sacred to pronounce, requiring instead a substitute name for everyday reference. Perhaps this parallels how our conscious mind cannot directly perceive or pronounce the divine code in our DNA. We require the intermediary language of science to approach it. Yet the direct experience of this encoding may be accessible through altered states of consciousness, just as mystics claimed direct perception of the divine name through meditative practices. The mystery deepens when we consider how language shapes reality. In quantum physics, the observer effect demonstrates that the act of observation influences what is observed. Similarly, in both ancient mystical practices and modern psychological understanding, the words we use shape our perception and experience of reality. Our genetic code may function in a comparable way, not just describing our physical form, but actively participating in creating it through an ongoing dialogue with consciousness and environment. The structure of DNA itself, the iconic double helix, represents one of the most elegant geometric forms in nature. This twisting ladder doesn't just store information, its very shape embodies principles found in sacred geometry across cultures. And throughout time, When viewed from above, the DNA molecule forms a perfect circle with the double helix, creating a spiral pattern that precisely follows the golden ratio, the divine proportion of 1.618 that appears repeatedly throughout nature. From the arrangement of leaves on a stem to the spiral of galaxies, this same ratio was used by ancient architects to design temples and cathedrals, spaces meant to embody divine harmony and facilitate connection with the transcendent. The double helix makes a complete turn every 10.5 base pairs, creating a spiral that matches the proportions of the logarithmic spiral found in nautilus shells, hurricane patterns, and spiral galaxies. This is the same spiral represented in countless sacred traditions, from the spiral petroglyphs of ancient peoples to the unfolding pattern of the Fibonacci sequence that mystics have long associated with divine unfoldment. What's even more fascinating is that the dimensions of DNA correspond to ancient numerical codes found in sacred texts. The width of the DNA molecule is 21 angstroms, while the length of one full turn of the helix is 34 angstroms, both Fibonacci numbers. The ratio between them approximates the golden ratio. The distance between base pairs is 0.34 nanometers. Another variant of the sacred proportion, Egyptian hieroglyphs depicting the Ankh, the symbol of life, bear a striking resemblance to the unwound structure of DNA when viewed from certain angles. Similarly, the ancient caduceus symbol, the staff of Hermes with two snakes winding around it, presents an almost perfect representation of the double helix structure, created thousands of years before the scientific discovery of DNA. Could it be that ancient mystics, in their deep states of meditation and communion with the divine, perceived the fundamental pattern of life, the twisting ladder that carries the name of creation? That through direct gnosis, they understood and represented this cosmic signature in their sacred symbols and art. The implications are profound. If the geometric structure of DNA itself embodies the same sacred proportions found in cosmic patterns and spiritual iconography across cultures, perhaps it is because they all emerge from the same divine template, a fundamental signature of the creative force that permeates all of existence. As we contemplate these geometric harmonies, I invite you to look at the world around you with fresh eyes. Notice the spirals, the proportions, the patterns that recur from the microscopic to the cosmic scale. The same signature that writes your genetic code writes the patterns of galaxies. If you're finding these connections meaningful, take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more explorations of these cosmic patterns that connect all levels of existence. The sacred geometry of DNA extends beyond its spiral form. When we examine the chemical structure of the nucleotide bases themselves, we find geometric patterns that reflect sacred forms found in mandala designs across spiritual traditions. The hexagonal and pentagonal rings that form the molecular structure of the bases create patterns of symmetry and balance similar to those found in yantra designs used for meditation in Eastern traditions. Water molecules surrounding the DNA helix form geometric clusters that amplify and protect the integrity of the genetic information. Research into water memory suggests that these molecules arrange themselves in response to energetic information, creating a protective sheath around the DNA that resonates with its vibrational signature. Ancient traditions worldwide recognized water as the primordial medium of creation, the carrier of divine memory. Science now suggests they may have glimpsed a profound truth. The mathematical precision of DNA repair mechanisms demonstrates another level of geometric elegance. When damaged, DNA employs complex geometric calculations to restore its original pattern, like a celestial blueprint remembering its perfect form. This self-healing capability mirrors spiritual teachings about the soul's inherent ability to restore itself to divine harmony despite temporal distortions or wounds. Even the three-dimensional folding patterns of DNA within the nucleus, the way the genome organizes itself in space, follows geometric principles that maximize both efficiency and meaning. Certain genes that need to interact are folded into proximity with each other, creating higher-order geometric arrangements that facilitate the symphony of life. This three-dimensional organization has been likened to the geometric concept of divine architecture, found in sacred buildings designed to amplify spiritual energies through precise spatial relationships. In Jewish mystical tradition, the most sacred name of God is the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, the four-letter name considered too holy to pronounce. This name was believed to contain the essence of divine creation, the fundamental vibration from which all existence springs. It's fascinating then to consider that the language of our genetic code is written with precisely four letters, A, T, G, and C, the four nucleotide bases that combine in endless variations to create the instruction set for all life on Earth. This parallel becomes even more intriguing when we examine how these four genetic letters interact. In DNA, adenine always pairs with thymine, and guanine always pairs with cytosine, creating a perfect complementary relationship, a balance of opposites that maintains the integrity of the genetic code. This mirrors the esoteric understanding of the Tetragrammaton, where the four letters represent complementary cosmic forces in perfect balance, the masculine and feminine aspects of divinity, the forces of mercy and judgment, expansion and contraction. The numerical value of the Tetragrammaton in Hebrew gematria, where each letter corresponds to a number, is 26. Remarkably, the human body has exactly 46 chromosomes, 23 contributed by each parent. The number 23 appears repeatedly in our genetic makeup, and when we add the chromosomal contributions from both parents, 23 plus 23, we get 46, which reduces to 10, 4 plus 6 equals 10, and finally to 1, 1 plus 0 equals 1, representing the unity from which all diversity springs. The number 26, the value of YHWH, is encoded in this genetic mathematics through the midpoint of our chromosomal inheritance. In the Kabbalah, the four letters of the divine name correspond to the four worlds or levels of reality: Atziluth, emanation; Beriah, creation; Yetzirah, formation; and Asaya, action. Similarly, our genetic code manifests through four levels: the DNA sequence itself, the RNA that copies it, the proteins built from that template, and the physical traits that ultimately emerge. From information to manifestation, both systems follow a four-stage process of divine unfoldment. What's particularly striking is how the four genetic bases combine in triplets called codons to specify amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. There are 64 possible combinations of these four letters taken three at a time. 4 raised to the power of 3 equals 64. This number 64 has profound significance in numerous spiritual traditions. The I Ching, or Book of Changes, one of humanity's oldest oracular systems, is structured around 64 hexagrams representing all possible states of cosmic change. The 64 arts of classical Indian traditions, the 64 squares on a chessboard representing the game of cosmic life, all reflect this fundamental pattern encoded in our DNA. The four-letter name of God and the four-letter alphabet of genetics both represent complete systems for creation, languages capable of generating infinite diversity from finite elements. Both are read in a specific direction, Both unfold through time, and both contain layers of meaning beyond their surface appearance. Is this convergence mere coincidence? Or does it point to a deeper unity between ancient spiritual knowledge and modern scientific discovery? If you're finding these connections meaningful, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you perceive the relationship between ancient wisdom and modern genetic science? Your perspective adds another dimension to our collective exploration. Each of the 4 DNA bases also resonates with elemental qualities recognized in spiritual traditions worldwide. Adenine, with its double ring structure, embodies the stability and groundedness of Earth. Thymine, with its reactive carbonyl groups, reflects the transformative quality of fire. Guanine, with its ability to form hydrogen bonds in multiple directions, expresses the flowing connectivity of water. And cytosine, with its high electronegativity, captures the communicative nature of air. Together, they form a quaternary that parallels the 4 elements essential to creation in numerous cosmologies. The Hebrew letters of the Tetragrammaton, Yod, He, Vav, He, each carry specific vibrational qualities and cosmic meanings. Yod represents the divine spark, the point of beginning. The first He embodies expansion and revelation. Vav acts as the connector between realms. The final He represents manifestation and completion. These 4 stages align remarkably with the functions of the 4 nucleotide bases in genetic expression: initiation, expansion of information, connection of complementary strands, and manifestation of physical form. In mystical teachings, the divine name was understood not as static, but as rhythmic, a breathing, pulsing vibration that sustains creation moment by moment. DNA exhibits this same quality of dynamic rhythm. It doesn't simply store static information, but constantly vibrates, repairs itself, and responds to environmental signals in a continuous dance of death and rebirth that maintains the integrity of life across generations. Sound has been recognized as a creative force across spiritual traditions, from the Om of Hindu cosmology to the Let There Be Light of Genesis. Divine utterance, vibration, initiates the process of manifestation. Modern science has confirmed the creative power of sound through cymatics, the study of visible sound vibration, which demonstrates how specific frequencies organize matter into coherent geometric patterns. What's less commonly known is that DNA responds to sound and electromagnetic frequencies in remarkable ways. Research in the field of wave genetics has shown that DNA can be influenced, repaired, and even reprogrammed by specific frequencies and linguistic patterns. The molecule itself acts as an antenna, receiving and transmitting electromagnetic information. In a groundbreaking experiment, scientists discovered that DNA emits ultra-weak photons, light particles, a phenomenon called biophoton emission. This light appears to be coherent, like laser light, suggesting it carries organized information. Even more remarkably, this light follows patterns that correlate with certain emotional and mental states. When we experience love, gratitude, or compassion, the coherence of these emissions increases. When we experience fear, anger, or stress, the coherence diminishes. The frequency at which DNA naturally resonates has been measured at around 528 Hz, a tone that falls within what is known as the solfeggio frequencies, ancient musical tones used in sacred music, including Gregorian chants. This particular frequency, 528 Hz, has been called the miracle tone or love frequency and is associated with healing, transformation, and miraculous manifestation. It's the exact frequency used by genetic biochemists to repair damaged DNA. When We examine sacred names across traditions. We find they often incorporate specific vowel sounds designed to create particular resonances in the body when chanted. The name of God in many traditions was meant to be vibrated rather than merely spoken, to be experienced as a full-body resonance that aligns the physical form with divine frequency. The Hebrew phrase Yahweh Elohim, when properly intoned, creates vibrations at key points in the body that correspond to the 7 major chakras or energy centers. Similarly, the Sanskrit bija mantras, seed sounds associated with different aspects of consciousness, create measurable effects on human physiology and brainwave patterns when correctly intoned. What's the connection to our DNA? Recent research suggests that specific sound frequencies can activate or deactivate certain genetic expressions. The vibrational field created by sacred chanting may literally be communicating with our genetic material, activating dormant potentials and harmonizing our biological functions with cosmic rhythms. If the true name of God is indeed a specific vibrational signature, the fundamental creative frequency of existence, and if our DNA responds to and resonates with specific frequencies, could it be that the divine name is not just metaphorically, but literally encoded as a frequency pattern within our genetic material? That when ancient texts speak of being created in God's image, they refer not just to our consciousness, but to the very vibrational template of our physical form? The implications are profound. Through specific sound practices, meditation, and states of elevated emotion like love and gratitude, we may be activating this encoded divine resonance, allowing the name of God within our cells to vibrate in harmony with the greater cosmic symphony. If you're resonating with these ideas, take a moment to hit the subscribe button to join our community of seekers exploring these fascinating intersections of science and spirituality. Your support allows us to continue diving into these transformative topics. The relationship between sound and genetics extends into fascinating territory when we consider how language itself may influence genetic expression. Research into the field of psycholinguistics suggests that even the words we speak and think create vibrational patterns that affect our physiology. The ancient practice of mantra repetition, speaking sacred sounds with focused intention, may be a technology for directly communicating with our genetic material through resonant frequencies. Various spiritual traditions worldwide have preserved specific tonal patterns in their sacred music, from Gregorian chants to Tibetan throat singing to indigenous ceremonial songs. These traditions often claim their sacred sounds were given to them by divine entities or received in states of deep meditation. Could these tonal patterns be keys to activating specific genetic potentials encoded within our DNA? Awakening dormant spiritual capacities through precise vibrational signatures. The concept of entrainment, where rhythms in proximity naturally synchronize, may explain how external sacred sounds influence our internal genetic rhythms. When we expose ourselves to the 528 Hz frequency, for example, our DNA may naturally entrain to this vibration, optimizing its function and activating higher-order expressions. This principle of resonant entrainment appears in spiritual practices worldwide, where sacred sound is used to align the individual with cosmic rhythms. What might happen when a critical mass of humans begin consciously resonating with the divine? Frequency encoded in their DNA. Collective consciousness research suggests that group coherence creates effects that extend beyond the individuals involved. Perhaps as more people awaken to and vibrate in harmony with the divine name within their cells, a larger field of coherence emerges, a resonant field that facilitates awakening and healing throughout the collective human genome. Throughout religious and mystical traditions, we encounter references to the Book of Life, a cosmic record containing the names of all souls and their divine purpose. In Revelation, it is written, "And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the Book of Life." In Jewish tradition, during Rosh Hashanah, it is said that each person's fate is inscribed in the Book of Life for the coming year. What if these references to a cosmic book containing our names and destinies were not merely metaphorical, but pointed toward the literal genetic text inscribed in every cell? Our genome has often been called the Book of Life by scientists. It contains not only instructions for building and maintaining our physical form, but also genetic predispositions, inherited memories, and potential futures encoded in its vast informational landscape. The human genome contains approximately 3 billion base pairs, an informational content equivalent to thousands of books. If printed in standard text, our complete genetic code would fill about 1,000 encyclopedic volumes. Within this vast library lies not just our physical characteristics, but aspects of our temperament, our talents, our challenges, and perhaps even our spiritual potentials. What makes this connection even more compelling is that our DNA is not static. It's dynamic and responsive to our choices, our environment, and our consciousness. Through the emerging science of epigenetics, we now understand that genes can be turned on or off, amplified or silenced, based on external factors including our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. We are, in a very real sense, co-authors of our genetic expression, participating in an ongoing dialogue with the Book of Life written in our cells. Ancient mystical traditions teach that the divine name is not just a label, but a creative formula, a code that, when properly understood, allows one to participate consciously in the process of creation. Similarly, as we develop a deeper understanding of our genetic code and the factors that influence its expression, we gain the ability to consciously participate in our own biological unfoldment. In many spiritual traditions, knowing one's true name, the name by which the divine knows you, is considered essential for spiritual awakening. This true name is not the label given at birth, but a vibrational signature that captures your essence and purpose. Could this true name be encoded within your unique genetic pattern, a divine signature as individual as a fingerprint, yet connected to the greater pattern of all creation? The similarities between how ancient texts describe the Book of Life and how modern science describes our genome are striking. Both are described as containing our true identity and purpose. Both are written before our birth, yet unfold through time. Both are influenced by our choices and actions. Both connect to our individual destiny and collective humanity. Both hold secrets that, when revealed, transform our understanding of ourselves. When mystics speak of remembering who you truly are, they describe a process of reconnecting with an essential blueprint of your soul. When geneticists speak of genetic expression, they describe how your inherent potentials manifest through interaction with your environment and choices. These may be different languages describing the same fundamental process, the unfolding of a divine pattern through the vehicle of human experience. If the secret name of God is indeed hidden within our DNA, it would suggest that divinity is not separate from us, but intrinsic to our very structure, that we are, in the most literal sense, expressions of the divine creative force, each carrying a unique signature of the whole. This understanding collapses the perceived boundary between creator and created, between divinity and humanity. I encourage you to reflect on this profound possibility. If you find these ideas resonating with your own intuition or experience, share this video with others who might appreciate this perspective. Your engagement helps these transformative concepts reach those who are ready to receive them. The concept of the Book of Life finds expression across diverse spiritual traditions. In Norse mythology, the Akashic records contain the past, present, and potential futures of all beings. In Egyptian tradition, the Book of Thoth holds all knowledge of the universe. In Hindu cosmology, the Akasha contains the record of all events and potentials. These parallel concepts all point toward an understanding that our essence and potential exist as information, a code or pattern that precedes and informs our physical manifestation. What makes the genetic connection to the Book of Life particularly fascinating is the growing scientific understanding of genetic memory, the ways in which experiences can influence genetic expression, not just within an individual lifetime, but across generations. Research in the field of epigenetics has demonstrated that trauma, for example, can create changes in gene expression that are passed down to descendants. Similarly, resilience, adaptability, and even specific skills may be encoded and transmitted through genetic inheritance. This scientific understanding gives new meaning to ancient concepts of ancestral blessings and curses, soul contracts, and karmic inheritance. The Book of Life was also understood in many traditions as a living document, continuously written and revised through our choices and actions. This dynamic quality perfectly mirrors our modern understanding of the genome as a responsive, adaptive system rather than a static blueprint. The choices we make today literally reshape the genetic inheritance we pass to future generations, just as ancient wisdom taught that our spiritual choices shape our soul's journey through time. Understanding that the divine name may be encoded within our DNA is not merely an intellectual curiosity. It has profound practical implications for how we live and how we approach our spiritual development. If we carry the vibrational signature of creation within ourselves, how might we consciously harmonize with this divine blueprint? First, let's consider the power of intention and focused attention. Modern research has demonstrated that meditation and contemplative practices create measurable changes in genetic expression. Studies on long-term meditators show different methylation patterns, a key epigenetic mechanism, compared to non-meditators. By directing focused, loving attention to the body, we may be literally communicating with our DNA, activating latent potentials written in our genetic code. Ancient practices of sacred sound, mantras, chants, and toning take on new significance in light of what we now understand about DNA's responsiveness to frequency. By engaging in sacred sound practices, particularly those utilizing the 528 Hz frequency or traditional solfeggio tones, we may be directly activating resonance with the divine name encoded in our cells. Many who practice these sound healing techniques report experiences of profound wholeness, accelerated healing, and expanded consciousness. The emotional state of gratitude appears to be particularly powerful in activating beneficial genetic expression. Research at the HeartMath Institute has shown that feelings of genuine gratitude and appreciation create a coherent heart rhythm pattern that facilitates communication between the heart and DNA. When we cultivate gratitude, a state of thankful recognition of the divine gift of existence, we may be acknowledging and activating the divine signature within us. Conscious breathing practices found in yoga, qigong, and various meditation traditions may also play a role in awakening this encoded divinity. The Hebrew word for breath, ruach, is the same word used for spirit. In Greek, pneuma carries the same dual meaning. The conscious breath may be the bridge between the material and spiritual aspects of our being, carrying information that speaks directly to our genetic material. Fasting and dietary practices found in spiritual traditions worldwide create specific biochemical conditions that influence genetic expression. Modern research confirms that fasting activates cellular cleaning mechanisms, and changes gene expression in ways that promote longevity and cognitive function. These practices may have been designed not just for physical purification, but to create optimal conditions for the divine name within us to express itself more fully. Connection with nature, spending time in forests, near bodies of water, or under the open sky, has been shown to reduce stress hormones and promote beneficial gene expression. Many spiritual traditions emphasize this communion with the natural world as essential for spiritual awakening. Perhaps this is because the same divine signature written in our DNA is echoed in the patterns of nature, creating a resonant field that reminds ourselves of their true inheritance. Perhaps most powerful is the practice of love, not as an emotion, but as a chosen state of being. When we love unconditionally, we create a biochemical and electromagnetic environment that supports optimal genetic expression. The vibration of love may be the closest match to the frequency of the divine name itself. By choosing love in each moment, toward ourselves, others, and all of life, we align with the highest expression of the divine code within us. I invite you to experiment with these practices with an open heart and mind. Notice how your body, emotions, and consciousness respond. You may be directly experiencing the awakening of the divine name that has been patiently waiting within your cells since before your birth. If these practices and perspectives resonate with you, please subscribe to our channel for more explorations of the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern discovery. Together, we're remembering what our cells have never forgotten, the sacred signature that connects us to the source of all being. A fascinating perspective on activating the divine code comes from quantum biology, the study of quantum effects. In biological systems, research suggests that quantum coherence plays a role in DNA function, with quantum entanglement potentially facilitating instantaneous communication across the genome. Some spiritual practices, particularly those involving sustained, focused attention and altered states of consciousness, may enhance quantum coherence within our biological systems, allowing the divine pattern in our DNA to express itself more fully. The ancient practice of visualization, holding clear internal images with focused attention, takes on new significance when we consider how thought forms may directly influence genetic expression. By visualizing ourselves as expressions of divine wholeness, we may be communicating directly with our genetic material, activating dormant potentials that align with our highest possibilities. This practice, found in contemplative traditions worldwide, may be a technology for conscious genetic activation. Movement practices like sacred dance, Tai Chi, and certain forms of yoga create coherent wave patterns in the body's tissues and fluids that may enhance communication with our genetic material. These traditions often emphasize specific movement patterns said to awaken dormant spiritual potentials. Modern research into fascia, the connective tissue network that surrounds and interpenetrates all other tissues, suggests it may function as a body-wide communication network that influences genetic expression through mechanical signaling. Communal practices, from group prayer to ceremonial singing, create field effects that amplify individual resonance. When multiple humans consciously attune to the divine frequency, they create a collective field that supports each participant in activating their own divine coding. This may explain why spiritual experiences are often more powerful in group settings. The collective field helps each individual overcome the inertia of lower frequency patterns stored in their cells. As we draw our exploration to a close, let us consider what it means to live with the awareness that the name of God may be encoded within the very fabric of our being. This understanding doesn't separate us from our humanity, but deepens our appreciation for the miracle of embodied existence. To recognize the divine signature within our DNA is to understand that the boundary between sacred and mundane is illusory. Our everyday biological processes, the beating of our hearts, the draw of our breath, the firing of our neurons, are not separate from spiritual reality, but are its direct expression. The body itself is a temple, not as metaphor, but as living reality, each cell vibrating with the name that cannot be spoken, but can be lived. This perspective invites us to approach health, healing, and well-being from a more integrated standpoint. When we care for our physical bodies, we are tending the vessel that carries the divine code. Our choices regarding food, rest, movement, and environment become acts of reverence for the sacred pattern encoded within us. Health becomes not merely the absence of disease, but the coherent expression of the divine template. Our relationships take on new significance when we recognize that each person carries their own unique expression of the divine name within their genetic makeup. The diversity of humanity becomes not a source of division, but a magnificent testimony to the infinite creative expressions possible within the divine pattern. Seeing the sacred signature in each person naturally evokes reverence, compassion, and deep listening, qualities that heal our collective wounds and reveal our essential unity. Even our challenges and suffering can be viewed through this transformative lens. The difficulties we face may be invitations to bring conscious awareness to aspects of our divine coding that seek expression or resolution. Our wounds become sacred portals when we approach them with the understanding that healing is remembrance of our original wholeness, the perfect pattern encoded in our DNA but temporarily obscured by fear, trauma, or misunderstanding. The recognition that we carry the name of God within ourselves dissolves the artificial separation between science and spirituality. Both become complementary languages describing the same magnificent reality, the conscious, intelligent, loving force that expresses itself through the elegant language of genetics and the direct experience of divine presence. The microscope and the meditation cushion become different vantage points from which to glimpse the same truth. Perhaps most profoundly, this understanding liberates us from seeking divinity outside ourselves. The great mystical injunction to know thyself takes on literal, biological significance. The kingdom of heaven is indeed within, written in the spiraling text of our DNA, waiting to be recognized, remembered, and expressed through the unique life that only you can live. As you continue on your journey after this video ends, I invite you to carry this awareness with you. Notice moments when you feel particularly alive, connected, and in flow. These may be moments when your conscious awareness has aligned with the divine name encoded within you, when you are living in resonance with your deepest nature. If this exploration has opened new doors of perception for you, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with others on the path of awakening. Your engagement helps this perspective reach those who are ready to remember what their cells have never forgotten, that they are living expressions of the divine creative force, each carrying a unique signature of the whole. Thank you for journeying with me into this profound territory where science and spirituality, ancient wisdom and modern discovery remind us of what we have always been, embodiments of the unpronounceable name, the living word, the divine signature written in the language of life itself. Until next time, may you live in conscious harmony with the sacred code within your cells, and may your life become a beautiful expression of the name that cannot be spoken but can be perfectly lived. The journey of awakening to the divine name in our DNA is not a destination, but an ongoing process of remembrance and refinement. Each day presents new opportunities to align more fully with this sacred encoding. Each challenge offers the chance to release patterns that obscure our recognition of the divine signature. Each relationship becomes a mirror, reflecting aspects of the sacred pattern, seeking expression through the beautiful diversity of human experience. In this light, the spiritual journey itself can be understood as a process of genetic awakening, the gradual activation of dormant potentials encoded in our DNA that allow us to perceive and embody more expansive expressions of consciousness. The mystical experiences reported by contemplatives across traditions may be moments of direct perception of the divine encoding, instances when the veil between ordinary awareness and the sacred pattern becomes temporarily transparent. The unity consciousness, infinite love, and timelessness described in these experiences may reflect alignment with the fundamental divine frequency encoded in our genetic material. As our collective understanding evolves, integrating ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science, we may be approaching a time of unprecedented awakening, a moment in human history when we consciously recognize and activate the divine name that has always been hidden in plain sight within ourselves. Some traditions speak of this as the dawning of a new age, an evolutionary leap in consciousness that allows humanity to perceive and embody its true divine nature. What might our world look like as more individuals awaken to and activate the divine encoding within their DNA? Perhaps we would see the emergence of new capacities, heightened intuition, telepathic connection, spontaneous healing, and creative expression beyond what we currently imagine possible. Perhaps we would witness the healing of ancient wounds in the collective psyche as we recognize our essential unity despite the beautiful diversity of our individual expressions. This perspective invites us to approach even the most ordinary moments of life with reverence and wonder. The simple act of breathing becomes communion with the divine name. Eating becomes a sacred exchange of information between your cells and the intelligence of nature. Movement becomes a dance that expresses the divine signature through the temple of your body. Relationship becomes an opportunity to recognize and honor the divine encoding in another unique human expression. As we close this exploration, I invite you to place your hand over your heart for a moment. Feel the steady rhythm that has been beating since before you were born. Within each cell pulsing beneath your palm lies the same divine signature we've been discussing, the ineffable name encoded in the twisted ladder of your DNA. Not as metaphor, but as living reality. Not as distant aspiration, but as present truth. This recognition doesn't require belief, it requires attention. The evidence is written in your cells, expressed through the miracle of your unique existence. The divine name is not hidden from you, but hidden as you, expressed through the particular combination of traits, talents, challenges and potentials that make you uniquely yourself while connecting you to all of creation. If this perspective resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and join our community of seekers exploring the frontiers where science and spirituality reveal their common source. In our next video, we'll examine how ancestral memory is stored and transmitted through your DNA, and how you can access this wisdom library encoded in your cells. Until we meet again, may you walk in the awareness that you carry the secret name of God within every cell of your being. May this recognition transform how you perceive yourself and your place in the cosmic dance. And may your life become a beautiful expression of the divine signature that has been waiting to be recognized and lived through you. Thank you for your presence, your attention, and your willingness to explore these profound territories of understanding. The journey continues with each breath, each heartbeat, each moment of conscious connection with the miracle of existence. Until next time, remember, you are not separate from the divine. You are its expression, its embodiment, its living name. The divine encoding doesn't end with your individual expression. It extends through relationships, communities, and ecosystems. When we recognize the same divine signature in others, despite different external manifestations, we naturally move toward harmony, cooperation, and mutual honoring. This recognition may be the foundation for a truly enlightened civilization, one that organizes itself around the understanding that we are diverse expressions of the same sacred pattern, each carrying a unique note in the cosmic symphony. As we conclude our time together, I encourage you to approach your life as an ongoing experiment in divine resonance. Notice what practices, environments, relationships, and states of being allow your unique expression of the divine name to vibrate most clearly. Trust the wisdom of yourselves to guide you toward what nourishes your deepest nature. Remember that you are not merely seeking connection with the divine. You are its living expression, unfolding moment by moment through the miracle of your existence. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploration and remembrance. Until we meet again in our next video, may you live in conscious harmony with the divine signature encoded in every cell of your being. Like, subscribe, and share if these ideas have illuminated something within you. The awakening of one ripples through the consciousness of many. Your engagement helps this perspective reach those who are ready to remember what their cells have never forgotten.